Hi everyone. Today I'm going to read to you part 1 of chapter 3 from Friendship According to Humphrey. Where we left off, we have Og the Frog joining the classroom, and Humphrey isn't quite too sure how he feels. He's not sure if Og is shy or just being mean to him. Chapter 3. It is called Sad, Mad, Bad. I'll tell you how the whole week went. Terrible, terrible, terrible. It must have been National Frog Appreciation Week because frogs were all we talked about in room 26. First, Mrs. Brisbane taught everyone how to take care of Og. The students gathered around as she put on rubber gloves, picked up the insect container, and sprinkled a few into Og's tank. She didn't seem too happy about the crickets, which turned out to be quite large and ugly. The way they leapt around the tank, no wonder Og went boing! Did you see his tongue? AJ bellowed. It must be a foot long. He ate one, Heidi squealed. Gross, said Seth as Og's tongue grabbed the rest of the crickets. I want to pet him, said Mandy. Before anyone could stop her, she slid the top off the tank, reached down, and picked up the big lump of frog. No, Mandy, said Mrs. Brisbane, but it was too late. He peed on me, Mandy shrieked, dropping Og back into his tank. Not that I blamed her. What unsqueakably bad manners. Is that any way for a classroom pet to act? Seth jumped back, shaking his hands. Ooh. Gail giggled, of course, as did everyone else. Wash your hands with plenty of soap and hot water, Mrs. Brisbane told Mandy. To the rest of the class, she said, that's what frogs do when they're frightened. We must all be gentle with poor Og. If you have to touch him, you must wear gloves. Pick him up by the shoulder blades and never squeeze his stomach, or you'll hurt him. She ordered my classmates back to their seats, not including Mandy, who was washing her hands. Then we had to learn more frog facts. They don't start out as cute, furry little babies like hamsters. No, no, no. They start out as funny little tadpoles, then grow into ugly-looking pollywogs and end up having a big, lumpy frogs with bulgy eyes. Ugh. For some strange reason, everyone was fascinated with frogs, except Tabitha and me. She paid more attention to her stuffed bear than anything else in the class. I overheard Mandy complain to the other girls that Tabitha wasn't very friendly. I tried to get her to play at recess, but she wasn't interested in anything besides that old bear. She's a big baby. Saya murmured, maybe she's shy. I was pleased that Saya had learned to speak up, but the other girls decided that Tabitha was just unfriendly, like someone else who was new to room 26. After so much frog talk, Mrs. Brisbane moved on to the subject of poetry. First, we read a scary poem about a tiger. We also read a poem about a bee, followed by a silly poem about a purple cow. Some poems rhyme, and some don't. But there are a lot of rhyming words like moon and June. And cat, rat. Funny that those last two words rhyme, isn't it? At night, while Og stared into space, I made a list of rhyming words in my notebook. Better than trying to talk to him as he continued to give me the silent treatment. Jumpity, bumpity, grumpity, lumpity. Funny that those words rhyme too. After a few days spent reading poems, Mrs. Brisbane said it was time for us to write our own poems. There were louder groans than the first time she mentioned poetry. Mrs. Brisbane held up her hand, which meant everybody had to be quiet. All of this is in preparation for Valentine's Day, when our class will present a poetry festival for all of the parents. Each of you will recite a poem that you wrote or one you like. There were no groans now. In fact, some of the students actually looked excited. Even Pay Attention Art was paying attention. Mrs. Brisbane explained that our assignment was to write a poem about an animal, at least 6 lines long, with words that rhymed. Mandy raised her hand and the teacher called on her. My name rhymes with candy cane, she said proudly. Mrs. Brisbane smiled. That's right, Mandy Payne rhymes with candy cane. Does anyone else have a rhyming name? Richie rhymes with itchy, AJ blurted out. What? Asked repeat it, please, Richie. Words were flying through my brain. Humphrey, Prumfrey, Dumfrey, Lumphrey. Gail's rhymes with hail. Heidi forgot to raise her hand again. And fail, Kirk muttered. I heard that, Kirk, said Mrs. Brisbane. Well, Kirk rhymes with jerk, said Heidi. who was always ready to defend her friend Gail. Please no more, Mrs. Brisbane said firmly. Kirk also rhymes with work, so let's get back to work. I never saw my classmates work so hard before. Richie chewed on his pencil. Seth jiggled his leg. Heidi erased more than she wrote. Kirk scratched his head, and Miranda wrote and wrote and wrote. Then she stopped writing and raised her hand. Mrs. Brisbane, can you think of anything else that rhymes with hamster? She asked. Let's throw that one out to the class, said the teacher. Anyone? Leave it to Golden Miranda to ask such a good question. It got everyone thinking because it was so quiet. You could have heard a pencil drop. 2 pencils did drop, in fact. How about gangster? A voice called out. Raise your hand, Heidi. Mrs. Brisbane walked to the board. How about that, class? Does hamster rhyme with gangster? She wrote the words on the board and repeated them. Hear that? They don't quite have the same sound, do they? Well, I would hope not. Gangsters are bad boys, and I am definitely a good guy. Maybe you'd better find another word to rhyme, the teacher instructed. Try Humphrey, I squeaked in encouragement. There has to be something that rhymed. Try frog, said AJ. Lower your voice, AJ, Mrs. Brisbane reminded him. And raise your hand, added Heidi. Mrs. Brisbane shook her head and then began to write words on the board as my classmates shouted them out. Dog, fog, log, slog, clog, and more. Nothing rhymed with hamster, but everything rhymed with frog. Ugh, how depressing. I wondered how many words rhymed with sad, mad, bad. That is all for chapter 3 today. Tune in tomorrow and we will finish chapter 3.